Order our joint meeting of the City Council, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, Public Finance Authority, the Public Utility Authority, Housing Authority, Paris Joint Powers Authority, and Paris Community Economic Development Corporation of the City of Paris this Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. The call time is 6:33 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers.
Here.
Councilmember Nava.
Here.
Councilmember Corona.
Present.
Councilmember Rab.
Here.
Mayor Vargas.
Present, thank you. Item 3 is our invocation, which will be led by Pastor Dan Bell of the Temple Baptist Church. If you please stand and join us and remain standing for item 4, which is our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening and we ask for your blessings upon this meeting. We thank you for allowing all to get here safely and pray for those who may be still on their way. Lord, we lift up, first of all, our mayor and our city council members to you. Oh God, we ask for your hand of protection to be upon them. Would you fill them with your wisdom? We ask, Father, that you would provide a spirit of unity, not just here in this meeting tonight, but in our beloved city of Paris. Father, I pray that you would help us to love our neighbors as ourselves. I pray that you would help us to consider others before ourselves. Lord, help us to learn that we can have differing opinions and yet still be respectful and loving to one another. Father, we also pray for the agenda that's set before us this evening. We ask that you would lead, guide, and direct the mayor and the council members, help them to make decisions that would best reflect your will and that would also seek the welfare of those who live and work in and around our city of Paris here. And then lastly, Father, as we look forward to next month celebrating our nation's independence, Father, we want to thank you for the blessing of freedom. We know not all nations have that, and so we want to acknowledge and recognize and be thankful for that which you've blessed us with, freedoms both religious and otherwise. Father, we just again ask your blessings on this evening. In your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Please join me as we salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Item 5 is our report on closed session items. Mr. Koo.
Thank you, Mayor. With respect to item A1, the City Council unanimously approved a settlement agreement with San Jacinto Lane LLC, DBA Trio et al., case number CVRI 2401832, concerning a lawsuit seeking payment from San Jacinto, the business that is, of taxes, penalties, and interests owed. Terms of the settlement include San Jacinto agreeing to the revocation of their cannabis permits and to pay the city $36,274.71, which is the amount of taxes due. In return, city will not seek payment of penalties and interest. Once fully executed, the settlement agreement will be available at the city clerk's office. With respect to item B1, one potential case of potential initiation of litigation, City Council unanimously approved settlement terms relating to a potential initiation of litigation by the city against the City of Menifee and Minor Ranch LLC regarding a Minor Ranch LLC project in Menifee, and authorized the city manager to finalize and execute a settlement agreement subject to city attorney approval as to form. Once fully executed, the settlement agreement will be available at the city clerk's office. With respect to item C, City Council unanimously authorized the initiation of litigation in one potential case. The action, defendants, and other particulars, once the litigation has formally commenced, will be disclosed to any person upon inquiry, unless to do so would jeopardize the city's ability to effectuate service of process or would jeopardize the city's ability to conclude existing settlement negotiations. With respect to the balance of the closed session, no reportable action was taken.
Thank you. Item 6 is a presentation and announcements. 6A is a presentation of the Montlick Family Scholarship Award. I'll be presenting that one. Then the second presentation is going to be on EV charging stations, so we'll be back up on the dais for that. So if we can just step down and get this, take care of that presentation down below.
Go on, Dave.
Okay, so for those who don't know, the Motluck family, that is Habib Motluck. He was our city engineer for over 30 years in the city. He has continually supported scholarship programs for our youth. And this year, we're focusing on 10 children, 10 seniors that graduated, 5 from Paris High School and 5 from Orange Vista High School, for a total of $500 each student. So graciously giving away $5,000. So I'm going to read what one certificate says. They will all say the same. The first one, well, the reading would be, City of Paris Certificate of Recognition. May be known that the mayor and the city council hereby recognize and congratulate the student's name for receiving the Motluck Family Scholarship. We wish you much success in your future endeavors, presented on this day, the 11th day of June, 2024. And then inside the certificate holder is the check that the student will be sharing with the mayor. So we'll start with, I happen to have Orange Vista in my hand. And the first two people are students are not, sorry, first two students are not, weren't able to make it tonight, but I still would like to recognize them. We have Angel Patino. And by the way, this is, I left my notes upstairs. I mean, up on the dais. I need them. Yeah, but I don't think he knows what I'm looking for.
I want an excuse to walk.
Yeah, it's okay. Got it. So we're honored tonight to welcome the faculty and esteemed scholarship recipients and their families. We are deeply grateful for the Motluck family for their generosity. Tonight, we celebrate the hard work and achievements of our scholarship recipients, particularly those pursuing STEM majors, science, technology, engineering, and math, as related to our city engineer. Each of you, students, have shown exceptional academic performance and dedication in the fields that drive innovation and progress. These scholarships are investments in your potential, helping you focus on your studies and pursue your dreams in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To our recipients, continue striving for excellence and remember the community is supporting you. We encourage you to one day give back and support future students in the STEM programs. Thank you for being here and supporting our mission. Congratulations to all the recipients, and we look forward to your continued success and positive impact. So that being said, we will start with Angel Patino, who's not here this evening. His major was computer science. He ended up with a 3.48 GPA. Yes. Christian Beeson from he's going to Cal State University Northridge, computer science. He finished off with a 3.7 GPA. You are here. Elsa Ledesma Salcido. Elsa's she's going to Moreno Valley College. She'll be studying mechanical engineering, and she ended up with a 4.10 GPA. Victoria Valen. Did I say your last name right? Is it Valine or Valen? Valen. She's going to UC Santa Cruz, Environmental Science. She ended up with a 3.81 GPA. And lastly, Giselle Denez. You here, Giselle? Giselle's going to Moreno Valley College to study biology. She wound up with a 3.69 GPA. Okay, how we do this usually is we split it up. I take care of the north side of Paris, which is Orange. Councilman Corona takes care of the schools on the south side, Paris High School. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and let him make those announcements.
All right, I'll try to make it quick. So two of our students, obviously that's summer. You know, they're out, you know, in Mexico or wherever they plan, but they planned that months ago, so it's kind of hard to cancel those trips. The first person is here. She has a 4.1 GPA, and she's going to go to UCLA for biology. This is Karina Gonzalez. All right. The next person, he's a twin, but he's going to be going to MSJC for pre-med, 3.7 GPA, Giovanni Beatriz. The next person, we're going to recognize her, but she's going to be going to Cal Poly Pomona for mechanical engineering, and that was Samantha Guzman, who's not here right now. And I might as well do the next one. Jair De Jesus, he's going to be going to Cal State Fullerton for a computer science major. So, we're gonna recognize him. And the last person, going to the greatest university on this earth, UC Irvine. Be an anteater. She's going to go for public health, and she wants to get in the medical career. So that's for Ingrid Solorzano. She had a GPA of 4.3.
Yeah, let's take a group photo, guys.
Good job, Ingrid.
Parents, when you're done, you can come up. We'll be back. All right, 3, 2, and... Got it? One more. We'll be back, so come on up. Is Habib in the photo? We appreciate Habib's generosity. He's always been that way. He does not want to get focused and get in on this, so we appreciate him and his family for contributing to our youth. Students don't, oops. Students don't leave quite yet. I'm going to let council make any comments, and then you're welcome to leave after that. All right, who'd like to start first? Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say congratulations to all the recipients of the scholarship. Special thank you to Mr. Habib for making this happen, because without your generosity, it wouldn't happen. At the same time, it gives us the opportunity to recognize just a few of the bright and wonderful students that are coming from our high schools, going off to great things. Whether you're in a community college, which is actually now a kind of a real smart choice to do, to whether you're going to UCLA or whatever. It's just great to see the great wonderful students that the city of Paris is producing, and the goal is that you come back and then get back to your same community. But congratulations to you all.
Councilwoman Nava?
First and foremost, thank you, Habib, for your generosity, and a big congratulations to all the award recipients. It's really inspirational to see all the different career goals you all have. So I look forward to hearing more of your success. Please keep us updated on how that goes, and best of luck on all your journeys. Thank you.
Councilman Rab?
Yes, I'd like to congratulate all the award recipients. You're a testament to the Paris Public School System, whether you be in the Val Verde District or the Paris Union High School District. As my colleagues mentioned before, do your best, come back to this community, make an impact on this community, or go out and make an impact in the world. Believe it or not, they're young people, kindergarten up through 11th grade, that are looking at you as role models, and they will continue to look up at you as a role model when you go to college. And as a Paris High School graduate, someone who went to Paris High Schools K through 12, you guys are a motivation to me as well. So keep up the good work, and thank you, Mr. Motloff, for your generous contribution to the scholarship fund. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I just want to congratulate all of the seniors that are graduating and have received the award tonight. You are really excelling in your academic achievements, and we are truly, as a council, as a city, so very proud of you. We wish you all the best as you start out this journey, and we know you're going to come back with great success stories. All of you are going to top-notch schools, and we want to hear all about that. So stay in touch and represent P-Town. Thank you so much. And to Habib, this is not the first year you've done this. This is about the 4th or 5th year that I can recall. You've been doing it every year. You're a generous benefactor to all of the students, and they're going to do you proud. God bless.
So I'm going to start with Habib as well. And it's been quite a while that he's been doing this. And the fact, what's more important is the man's already retired, and he's still doing this for the city, for our youth. And that's what's most incredible, too. So we thank you and your family. And to the students, so I think I managed a total of 6 graduations this year, including a couple of promotions from 5th grade. But it's like Councilman Corona says, you're just a few of many that have done significant, and you have been chosen for the scholarship, so feel proud about that. And please do come back and give back to your community. Mr. Abe, would you like to say anything? I didn't think so. I had to give that opportunity. Okay, well, thank you again, everybody. Okay, item 6B is the EV charging station presentation, which will be given by Taylor York of the Western Riverside Council of Governments, also known as the WRCOG.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Taylor York. I am the Clean Cities Program Manager at Western Riverside Council of Governments, and I serve as the Director of the Clean Cities Coalition. I'm going to give you a brief overview tonight on electric vehicle charging. Really quickly, what the coalition does. Our coalition is housed at WRCOG. We're part of a network of 75 coalitions nationwide. And the goal is to help local decision makers understand and navigate transitions to alternative fuel vehicles for fleets, and to support community transitions as well. And right now in California, that looks a lot like zero emission vehicles. Jumping right in, basically, I'm going to kind of provide an overview of the three basic types of electric vehicle charging and sort of their applications and considerations. First is level one. Level one is very simple. It's AC, 120 volt. Think about plugging it into a wall outlet. These generally come with electric vehicles, and they're pretty much limited to residential charging applications because they're portable and you only get up to about 5 miles of range per hour on an average electric vehicle, which is not very much with the battery size. Level two is the most common because it's kind of a compromise between cost and speed. And these are what you'll see deployed in parking lots or residential buildings or at workplaces. And these are AC, they're 240 volt. They'll get you about 25 miles of range per hour of charge. These have wide applications too, as I mentioned. The third type is DC fast charging, and these are the fastest, most powerful type right now. They're DC, about 480 volts, and these are the ones you kind of hear. You can get 80% charge in 30 minutes on these. And these are not generally used for residential or at homes. These are out in public. These are large chargers that are used along corridors where people need to charge quickly, freeways, large streets, or in the public. Also for commercial and yard applications, and especially for heavier duty vehicles like buses and trucks, because the vehicles in these batteries are so large that they need faster charging to be practical. Quick overview of the cost. Level one chargers, could probably buy one for about $500. Level two, those AC, most common type, generally around $15,000 for public deployment or in a yard. And these is going to change depending on where the charger is installed or the existing state of the infrastructure. So are there pipes and wires in the ground already? Is it being installed on the side of a building or as a freestanding application? So that price can vary greatly. And then DC fast chargers are obviously the most expensive, coming in at between $50,000 and $100,000, again, depending on where they're installed and the application that they're going to be used in. So a couple really important considerations in trying to figure out what types of infrastructure get installed and where and when. Looking at the application for these is important. Are these being used for fleet operations for the city itself, or are these sort of being deployed in the community, publicly available to support drivers and community members? Second, it's really important to consider the class, use case, and the duty cycles of the vehicles that they'll be supporting. So if you've got a couple of sedans running around for code enforcement, for example, you would probably be okay with having a couple of level two chargers in the yard. But if you're looking at larger vehicles, off-road vehicles, buses, heavier duty trucks, you would want to look at having DC fast charging deployed not only in the yard, but out in the community as well to support field charging of those vehicles. Future use and expansion is really important, so planning strategically, not just putting in the ground what you need right now, but thinking 10 to 15 years ahead. For example, if you're building a parking lot, installing conduit for 5 electric vehicle chargers. You may only need one now, but in the future it will be much cheaper and much easier to upgrade those 5 chargers if the demand comes around. Site availability, layout, and access to power. Especially that last one. And on the same vein, working early and often with utilities, especially with DC fast chargers, as they can use a lot of electricity. And many sites, especially in smaller cities, aren't equipped to bring in that much power all at once to power those chargers. Some regional projects that we've worked with some other cities, just to give you an example of what others are doing. We got funding to support deployment of infrastructure for 4 agencies in Riverside County. Those are going to be deployed. There's level 2 chargers and a DC fast charger to support some vehicles that are being adopted. So they're being adopted in pairs and installed as part of a pilot program that will kind of take best practices from that process, put it into a toolkit, and then make it available to other jurisdictions. Right now, the County of Riverside is working on a zero-emission transition planning, so looking at strategically how they transition their fleets from petroleum vehicles to zero emissions so that they can do it right and do it efficiently. And then thirdly, Moreno Valley just completed an electric vehicle charging master plan, looking at how to strategically deploy public charging in the communities. And they went through a whole process, and I was assisted in one way or another all of these cities doing these projects. There are some really fantastic resources available through the coalition. We have access to a lot of resources. One of them is the Alternative Fuel Data Center. Anything you want to know about any alternative fuel. The technology, laws and incentives, where the stations are, basic concepts of these vehicles is on this tool. It's very, very powerful. And then one of the examples of the tool that we have to directly help cities is the A-Fleet tool. And you can use this tool to simulate costs for charging, payback over time for vehicles and charging infrastructure, a lot of things. It's a very powerful tool, and there's many versions of it. And I am always happy to help the city navigate these tools or explore more resources. That's what I have. I'm happy to take questions now or later. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for that presentation. Anybody have any comments, Council? All right, very good. Just real quick, any idea what they charge for each of these levels per hour to charge? In particular, the real fast one?
Yeah, the real fast ones, they're generally about the same price, so anywhere between 20 and 35 cents a kilowatt. Some of them can also charge by time. So some of them will say if you're plugged in, you're paying $1.50 an hour to be plugged into the charger. It's generally up to the site owner to
Right.
set that.
Yeah, I've seen some where the first couple hours are free and then they start charging you.
Yeah, and it's really up to the site
What I
owner.
don't see is enough chargers for all these vehicles. Some pose a minimum or maximum stay. You can always hang out there for 4 hours and you got to move.
Yeah.
I got to experience, that's what led to this presentation. I got to experience an electric car as a loaner, and I don't know what I was thinking. I had no capability of charging it at home, and we don't have any chargers here. I did happen to have a committee meeting in the county, and I plugged in for 3 hours and came out and got a whopping 25 or 30 miles. I said, okay, that's great. That'll get me back home. So if you had the fast charger, oh, that's awesome. And what'd you say, 30, 80 minutes, you'll be done,
Yeah, about 80% in 30 minutes.
So, I mean, that's perfectly ideal, but the average consumer is not going to be able to afford $50,000 to $100,000 to get one of those installed at their home. And,
Right.
I don't see an abundance of those right now in the city, yet the state is mandating us to switch to these. So anyway, that's a whole other topic. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Sure, of course.
All right. Okay, moving on, item 7 is our Youth Advisory Committee Communications. This report will be given by Yaneli Torres, our Vice President.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff, good evening. My name is Yaneli Torres, and it's a pleasure to serve as the Vice President for YAC. I'm here to provide an update on upcoming events. To begin, YAC will have our annual end-of-the-year trip this Thursday, June 13, 2024. This is an all-day event and will feature an educational workshop. Additionally, our annual end-of-the-year dinner is scheduled for Tuesday, June 18, 2024. As we approach the summer, we have several activities and community service hours available to our students. Friday, June 14, 2024, YAC will assist staff with the on-site duties during the unveiling of the Cesar E. Chavez statue at 4 p.m. The Movies in the Parks events, Fridays at 6 p.m. This Friday, is a Father's Day edition, which is June 14th at Mark Carter Park. And we have our other ones at July 12th at May Ranch Park and June 26th at Rotary Park. Saturday, June 15, 2024, YAC will participate in the Juneteenth event hosted by the Paris Valley of African American History Committee. We will have an additional booth about future community services, the Statler Youth Center, and YAC events. Saturday, June 22nd, 2024, YAC will assist the Friends of the City of Paris Cesar Chavez Library in celebrating its 30th anniversary. Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024, YAC will participate in the second annual 4th of July event. Saturday, July 20th, 2024, YAC will collaborate with the Inland Empire Lowrider Car Club to host a community backpack giveaway. While this event is free for the community, backpacks and giveaways may be limited. Regarding our YAC applications, we have received 38 applications, with 17 returning and 21 new applicants. The next step is the interview process with the YAC liaison, and letters have been sent to all applicants regarding the next steps. Finally, please follow us on social media at Paris YAC for more updates and information on upcoming events. In addition, I would like to thank the mayor, council, and city staff for their ongoing support. It has been a pleasure to serve as the Vice President for YAC, as this will be my last council update. My next chapter in life will take me to the University of California at Berkeley, as I will be pursuing a double major in political science and history. Once again, thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff.
Thank you, Nelly, for that great report, and good luck to you in college.
Oh, just want to take the time to also recognize that Yaneli Torres was the Paris High School valedictorian.
Nice. All right, that takes us to item 8, public comment. It's the time when any member of the public may bring a matter to the attention of the mayor and the city council that is within our jurisdiction and is not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Yes. Ashley?
Good evening, public servants and dedicated administration. My name is Ashley Williamson. As a resident, I'm disappointed in the communication offered to me by the City Council in regards to any meaningful recognition of Pride this month in June. I feel I've been given the runaround on the issue, perhaps in hopes the effort towards a Pride flag would be abandoned. Do you think we don't have Pride here? La Finca just had the most fabulous drag show this weekend. The smallest effort made to commemorate Pride in the form of a social media post was met with no moderation for the sad bunch of hateful and bigoted comments. Comments that said things like me and my children exist in sin. In email communications, which I forwarded to most of you yesterday, I was offered a copy of the proclamation for Pride that would occur at this meeting. I said, yes, I would like to see that. And I waited, and I looked at the lengthy agenda for tonight. There's no Pride mentioned. Follow-up email arrives. Oh, if you want a copy, you should contact the mayor, and also, it's a closing comment, agenda item 13, not really a proclamation. Now I can see why certain neighbors in action, and particular clean air coalitions, speak of you the way they do. I too support no more warehouses. Now, my car wouldn't start or jump today, so I walked to this meeting. It feels like the council is dodging speculative outrage or harassment by refusing to be outright with solidarity for the LGBTQIA community. This milquetoast stance on a current and pressing social issue may be a whisper in official capacity, but it speaks volumes to me. My ride's not gonna wait until the end of the session to come and get me, so I'll be eagerly watching the live stream to see exactly what and how Pride will be recognized. Because the city has turned away from showing any substantial support to the LGBTQIA community, I am coordinating a peer support group for queer citizens, as well as their families and allies. The Paris Pride Alliance can be found on Facebook and Instagram, and we will be meeting for the first time at the end of June. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 9 is approval of minutes.
Jairo Carbajal?
Hello, Council. Good morning. Not good morning, actually. Good afternoon. So today, I've only want to address two people, and that is Mayor Vargas and Councilwoman Rita Rogers. Tomorrow, there is an important meeting for all the people in here. Just know, tomorrow, these two people are going to decide whether they get to put a 4.3 million square foot warehouse between 3 residencies, left, right, and behind them. They voted to bypass CEQA. Hello? No, sorry. And I urge you guys to do the right thing, Whether or not, I don't know what your idea is, to even think about it, give it a chance to even come to light is ridiculous. Why would he ever consider putting a 4.3 million square foot warehouse between 3 residencies? That is ridiculous. I know Rita Rogers really likes that, She put, for all the people out here, again, she approved, I think, a 3.7 million square foot warehouse next to Rob Reiner, That's going to get built between now and 2026. So keep an eye on that. It's going to be next to another residency, a new elementary school, I believe. But I just urge you guys not to vote against this warehouse tomorrow, because you're going to make a big impact on not just Paris, not Riverside, Myrna Valley, the whole Inland Empire. It's ridiculous that you guys are even thinking about it. You know, it's dumb, you know. I just think we're done. You know, it's no surprise. No one likes warehouses anymore. It's like we have enough, you know. We all know why you guys want to build these warehouses. You know, I think it was Lewis, that's the developer. I know they've given you some nice donations, you know. But what can we say? It's ridiculous. And tomorrow we'll be there, obviously. We'll be there every step of the way, whatever you guys do. So it's up to you. I really hope you consider this, because I know you guys are up for re-election, and to be honest, a lot of people are done with your shenanigans, you know? Rita Rogers has been here since 1999, since I was born, you know? Nothing has changed. Nothing good, you know? It's ridiculous. It's time for a change, and I know you guys have to look good this year, this couple months, because it's a re-election, but you're not fooling anybody. And I saw that video of the mayor at an HOA meeting. That was just weird. Pretty funny, but I hope you guys do the right thing tomorrow, because we'll let people know what you do.
Carla Cervantes.
Hi, Council. My name is Carla Cervantes, and I'm here to comment on the warehouse issue that I've been commenting on, coming to as many meetings as I can since January. Our air quality, in specific, the particle pollution and ozone pollution, is second worst in the entire country, according to the American Lung Association, which is peer-reviewed, which you know because I've commented on this. Tomorrow, there's a decision to be made about the Upper Plateau project. That's 4.5 million square feet that is surrounded by 3 neighborhoods on 3 sides of the project. Councilwoman Rogers and Mayor Vargas have received tens of thousands of dollars from warehouse developers and investors, which shows based on their decisions when it comes to coddling warehouse developers. This site where the development will be, it was a former ammunition site and nuclear storage site, which the developer has not done testing on the soil, and they're gonna be digging 20 feet deep. All that stuff is gonna be getting into the air by the Orange Crest community, the Mission Grove community, and you guys both sit on that board. You guys are both up for re-election, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but you guys really need to vote against this project. You guys have a lot of heat on you. Before it was just me and my husband that were coming here to talk to you guys and urge you guys to change. Then we got 2 more people, then we got 2 more people. Now we have a total of 12 people that are coming here as residents. We don't have to get paid to do the right thing. And apparently you guys get paid, not even apparently, you guys get paid with our taxpayer money to represent us, and you guys are only representing NIOP, which is the representative for warehouse development, and it shows with your decisions. You guys are up for re-election. There are people who are running against you that are willing to do the work that you guys are not doing. I urge you both to surprise me. Prove me wrong tomorrow. Prove me wrong that you guys have a spine for your community. You guys are gonna do your job. Because once that warehouse is built, it's done. You guys are gonna be out, and I will be so glad to see you leave where we can have responsible leadership in here. You guys are giving awards to these kids that earned it. That's amazing. We have environmental science people that are they wanna become something. They're not gonna wanna stay here. There's no jobs here other than warehouse jobs. You know that. So you guys are rewarding these children that deserve it, and they're gonna wanna leave as soon as they can because you guys are purposely putting warehouse jobs in here to fill your pockets, and those talented individuals are gonna leave here because they're not gonna wanna stay, continue breathing these horrible, horrible pollutants in the air, knowing that they cause cancer, knowing that they cause a respiratory illness, knowing that they cause Alzheimer's, knowing that they cause heart disease. So I'm so glad that there's people running against you guys. I hope tomorrow you guys make a decision that is for your constituents and not for the developers, because what we know publicly is that you guys are frauds. You guys shouldn't be elected officials. You guys should probably go work at a warehouse job because that's what you guys would deserve to be at. Because then they could pay you ethically, right, where you guys can work for them in warehouses that are over 100 degrees in the summer. That's what you guys think that this city deserves. We deserve better than the likes of you. So grow a spine and do better. Thank you.
That is all.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9 is approval of minutes. 9A, consideration to approve the minutes of the regular joint meeting held on May 28th, 2024, of the City Council, successor agency to the redevelopment agencies, and all the other entities as listed on the agenda. Nobody has any comments or questions, Council? I'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion by Councilman Rab, second by Councilman Corona. Please call a vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 10 is our consent calendar items. Consent calendar items are normally enacted in one motion. The mayor or city council may remove a consent calendar item for a separate action. We will have public comment limited to 3 minutes. Council, if you have any questions, comments, anything they want to pull? Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Yes, item 10BB.
10BB as in boy.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
John Bradshaw.
Good evening, council. This thing on?
Yes.
We're good? It's concerning San Jacinto Road where the canal goes across the way where I believe it fills up and is closed all the time when it rains. So this closure affects Murrieta Road, which has a large sports complex which at times holds several hundred people during the sports activities. Also on the same road is an elementary school which holds hundreds of people and staff throughout the day, making this road extremely hazardous for the children and/or parents by using this road as a detour during the closure. The second road is Dunlop, which is extremely congested throughout the day on a road which has no usable soft shoulder due to the asphalt degrading on both sides, leaving major potholes. Also on this street going north in the direction of Nuevo Road is a large Catholic church which also holds several hundred people at any given time, with overflow parking onto the surrounding streets, which makes this area very congested. As noted on the plan, you can see that this street narrows at the housing tract from the curb and gutter and ends up in a 2-lane going down to this detour. Furthermore, the detour road number 3 would be Pico Avenue. Southbound goes into a bad curve within a half mile. Northbound, past the new housing tract, the asphalt stops and becomes an unmaintained dirt road prior to Nuevo Road. All these roadways that will receive the detoured traffic off San Jacinto Road are going to be extremely overloaded with traffic, as is well known from your own surveys. San Jacinto Road has become heavily trafficked with numerous accidents. The timeline for this project is concerning due to the experience with a prior project on Nuevo Road, which overran its schedule by many months. What is the plan for the improvements on the canal that typically overflows and is closed every year during the rain? If the developer is permitted to construct hundreds of homes, which will add substantial additional traffic to this road, what conditions have been placed for improvement requirements to the San Jacinto Canal area? Certainly, the developer should be made responsible for any improvements to road that access this project, as this project is going to greatly increase the volume of traffic on already accessible roadways. I'm just wondering if they're actually going to do the canal part now, or are they just going to dig out the middle of the road and then repave it over again? Because that canal's been a point of contention for the 30 years we've been out here, and it's very dangerous. And a lot of people like to bypass it and end up getting stuck or going off into the canal. So if we could find out some reason why it's going to be closed and why they're using those roads, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you.
That is all.
All right. Council, any comments before we? Councilman Corona?
My question for our city engineer, Mr. John Porkezami. I wonder if you could kind of address some of the concerns that the residents have. I know some residents also reach out to me. I kind of try to explain it, but for clarification, Murrieta will not be closed, correct?
That is correct. Actually, we have a exhibit, if I may ask.
Yeah, I think that might be
to
good
put it
for
up.
all the residents that would be concerned. Thank you.
So as you can see, there's a sewer infrastructure improvements that it's on the plans. So in order to install that sewer main line, we're requesting to close San Jacinto Avenue. And detour would actually be accommodated on Dunlap, Nuevo, and Murrieta. And we're trying to have this kind of like timeline where the schools are out. So, and be trying to expedite that project. So we kind of mitigate a lot of the impacts. But as far as the crossing, we don't have any projects at this time.
Wait, which crossing are you talking about?
San Jacinto crossing over the.
Over the channel, okay.
But we do have some projects coming online that there are conditioned and/or will be conditioned to provide for that bridge crossing.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a condition of future development to deal with
is
that, to
correct.
build it?
Yes.
And so that we're not having to close it every winter time?
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, but we don't have a timeline on that as of right now?
I don't have a timeline at this.
Okay,
time.
and the purpose of the closing of San Jacinto is for what?
It's for a sewer line.
For
It's
sewer
the main
line.
sewer line that we're actually planning on constructing along there. in San
For the
Jacinto
future
Avenue.
development here, so without that sewer line, you can't have the development, which means you can't really get the bridge crossing.
That is correct.
Gotcha, thank you.
So just for more clarification, it's already identified as to when these conditions are going to be applied. The bridge is in Phase 2 or Phase 3 of the housing project?
It's in the phase 2 of the.
Correct.
of
And the
this
phase,
development,
and
correct.
Phase 2 is already being worked on by the developer. So it's not like we don't have any projects, and it's, nothing's officially submitted, but there are drafting, if you will, and eventually will be submitted for approval. And Phase 2 will be the brand-new bridge for San Jacinto where we will never have to close again. Now, yes, I'm not going to stand here and promise you it's going to be done here in 3 months. I don't know when they're going to be done, but I can tell you it's not just sitting on a shelf. The developer is working, he's already got Phase 1, that's why we're doing this construction now of the drainage. Phase 2, that's when the bridge will be coming in. They're going to be conditioned for the bridge, so just, I understand you probably may have lived here longer. I've been here since 2004. I was affected on the bridges on the north side, but I know it's painful, but at least here, we're not severing off. We're allowing to go completely around and get back on, so, but in due time, we will get our bridge. Thank you. I appreciate you coming down, too.
Oh, Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, I definitely want to thank you for bringing up those concerns. A lot of neighbors in that area do have the same concerns. I know that when we were all dealing with the Nuevo Road Bridge and people were coming out from Nuevo, the Nuevo community, and also other residents over there, they were really upset and stuff like that. But I think we kind of chose to speed it up and get the process done as quick as we can. And it's a beautiful bridge right now, and I don't think anyone kind of remembers about all the issues that they dealt with. But
Yeah.
but thank you for bringing those concerns.
All right, council, so I'm looking for an approval on all the consent calendar items, or a motion, I should say. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 11 is our public hearings. 10A is a consideration to adopt proposal resolution number next in order approving the 2024-2029 consolidated plan with the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual action plan of the analysis of impediments fair housing choice for the Community Development Block Grant, also known as the CDBG program. This item was continued from our May 14th, 2024 City Council meeting. This is going to be introduced by our Director of Economic Development and Housing, Ms. Michelle Ogawa.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. We have Principal Management Analyst Dr. Sarah Cortez de Pafon to present this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. The item before you is in regards to the Community Development Block Grant. As you know, the City of Paris is an entitlement city and therefore receives CDBG funds directly from HUD. To receive these funds, HUD requires that we have a consolidated plan and an analysis of impediments to fair housing choice every 3 to 5 years. Citizen participation plan, an annual action plan, and a CAPER report is also required. So just for some background, the consolidated plan is a 5-year planning document. It identifies community development and housing needs and outlines the goals and objectives to meet those needs. And the annual action plan is that 1-year plan of how we're going to execute those goals and objectives. And the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, or AI, is a comprehensive review of city policies and private organization policies to determine their effect on the availability of fair housing. And cities use this information in the AI to promote equal housing opportunity. Citizen participation, community input, and stakeholder feedback drive the development process. We did have information booths at 4 city events. We did conduct a survey. We had it available online and on paper in Spanish and in English. We did receive 457 responses, which is a 117% increase from last year. We did hold community and stakeholder meetings on November 30th and December 14th of last year. And we also contracted with TDA Consulting, who collaborated with housing staff. They conducted follow-up calls with stakeholders. They wrote the consolidated plan, and they were the lead in the AI development process. Of the surveys that we received, before you are the highest priority by residents. These were the ones that are the items that residents labeled as the highest priority in their opinion. HUD does have goals by ensuring decent housing, create and maintain a suitable living environment, and provide economic opportunities to principally low to moderate income persons. And the City of Perris has established the following strategies to meet those goals. 1 is to expand and improve services for low-income households. 2, expand and improve quality of youth services. 3, housing opportunities for low-mod income households. 4, to increase diversity and vitality of neighborhoods. And 5, to expand and improve quality of public improvements. For the upcoming 24-25 fiscal year, HUD did allocate us $886,118 for CDBG. That is a decrease of $2,900 from the previous year. There are statutory caps, so of that allocation, 20% can be used for planning and admin. 15 can be used for public service projects, and the remaining go for non-public service projects. On February 8th, the CDBG committee met to set preliminary funding recommendations, and they reconvened on May 7th to review the comp plan, the action plan, the AI, and decide on final funding recommendations based on this allocation. Before you are the allocations that the CDBG committee recommended. And now I will hand it over to Jennifer Alpha. She is with TDA Consultants, and she will introduce the analysis of impediments.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. It's wonderful to be here tonight to share with you the findings of the analysis of impediments to fair housing. So as you all may be very aware, the recipients of funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development are required to comply with fair housing laws. And one of the ways to demonstrate that you're complying with fair housing laws and certifying that you will affirmatively further fair housing is to complete an analysis of impediments to fair housing, which is essentially a fair housing planning document. So some basics about an AI. It is a comprehensive analysis of fair housing issues related to your planning goals for the overall community. It looks at data, it takes into consideration the community consultation, and then it combines the data and the consultation into an analysis. For this AI, we did streamline some of the consultation efforts and incorporated fair housing questions into the consultation that Sarah described, but there was some additional consultation just for the AI as well. So the The process of developing an AI helps to identify barriers that limit housing opportunities based on protected classes, so race, disability, sex, income, things like that. And then by addressing these impediments, communities can promote fair housing choice, which is the ability of people to live where they can access jobs and amenities and things like that, as well as inclusivity. So as part of the AI, it is a best practice to include action steps. Once you've identified the impediments, you include action steps to help to address those impediments. And TDA is very careful to advise our clients that those action steps should be realistic and achievable. Many of the issues that we identify in an AI really are systemic issues, and so it can't be expected that one community can overcome these issues all on their own, but there are things that we can always do to help address concerns and over time make a difference. So we try to make these action items realistic and achievable. So the AI is a separate planning document from the consolidated plan that Sarah just described, but there are some overlaps, and we try to leverage the work being done through the consolidated plan as part of the AI as well. So as part of the AI, we identified 7 major areas of impediments, and so I'm just going to go over these fairly quickly. I know you all received a copy of the AI, so you can take a closer look. We look at lending patterns as part of the analysis, and to do that, we look at things like who's applying for loans, what are the denial rates for loans, and we look at that analysis based on race in one way, and other ways as well. And one thing that we found is that comparatively, Hispanic households have limited access to homeownership opportunities due generally to lower incomes, but that their denial rates are also higher than other races within those income bands. Overall, however, mixed race and American Indian Native Alaskans do have the lowest approval rates. So to help address some of the concerns that we identified with respect to lending patterns, we came up with 3 actions. One is that in conjunction with Habitat for Humanity of Inland Valley, workshops would be provided on financial literacy. The second action is that workshops would also be provided on homebuyer opportunities that target minority and lower income households. And then the third action is to partner with lenders to provide outreach and education on financial literacy. So trying to pull in lenders and get them to do some of the legwork, because like I said, a lot of these issues are systemic, resources are limited, and so we try to leverage community partnerships to help address some of these concerns.
Quick question, if I may.
Yes.
These workshops, what do they entail? Are they a few hours? Are they spread out? Are they in segments? Do you have any details on that?
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with the exact detail of these specific workshops that this Habitat for Humanity is delivering, but in general, the financial literacy workshops will help folks understand what the process is for accessing credit, and then typically they would help folks look at where they are with respect to accessing credit and help them identify areas where they can improve their credit scores, compensate for lower incomes, access programs that are designed for lower income home buyers and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the next area is housing discrimination. So we take a look at complaints that are filed based on the protected classes. And based on the data that HUD provided to us with respect to complaints that it received, sex was actually the largest number of complaints. Now, I will preface this by saying that there weren't very many complaints at all. There were like less than 10 in the last 5 years. But of those, the majority of them were based on sex as a protected class. We also did hear from the community and from stakeholders, advocates in the community, that seniors are facing higher levels of discrimination. And that is something that we're actually seeing across the country as our population ages. So to address these concerns, there were 2 actions that we helped to identify. One is to continue to support the Fair Housing Council of Riverside County by supporting their services that they deliver over the course of the consolidated plan. So using some of those CDBG dollars to support the Fair Housing Council. And there's an example of the nexus between the consolidated plan and the AI. So with respect to the next action, supporting the efforts of the Housing Authority of the County of Riverside to provide information and counseling to new recipients of rental subsidies. So under state law, it is illegal to discriminate against folks based on their source of income. And so making sure that individuals who are receiving assistance understand their rights is really important. And similarly, making sure that landlords understand that this is a law and people have protected rights. So supporting those efforts of the Housing Authority would be an action that the city can take as well.
Oh, quick question. I wonder if you could go back there. Yeah. With the perceived discrimination, was that based on sex? Was that males felt that they were discriminated, or females, or non-binary, or who? Would...
So we don't have access to the gender of the person making the complaint, unfortunately. So I can't answer that question. We just know that it was the data that HUD gives us tells us the basis for the complaint, and it'll tell us the outcome of the complaint. Either it was dismissed, or it was closed, or reconciled, or whatever it is. But we don't get information on the gender.
On the demographics of who's, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because
Thank
it's
you.
confidential.
Yeah, no, I get it. Thank you.
All right. So access to housing and services. So Paris is in a growth mode. Population grew by 15% over the last 10 years, which is higher than the county's growth rate and actually double than the state's growth rate. So as the population continues to grow, there will be a need for more housing, and much of that housing will need to be affordable because, as we all know, housing prices continue to rise. And it'll just continue to put a strain on the housing stock and the limited availability of affordable housing as it already exists. So an action here is just to continue to implement the housing and economic development policies established in the city's general plan, the housing element, and then the consolidated plan as well. So another area of impediment is limited English proficiency. So the city's population is majority Hispanic. Many of those folks also speak Spanish as their primary language at home, and our research showed that about 34.5% of those folks speaking English or Spanish at home are speaking it less than very well, which is a term that HUD uses. And so for those with limited English proficiency, their ability to access programs and access opportunities that can assist them can be limited unless there are accommodations made to provide the materials in Spanish, to provide translation services. And we know everybody's already doing that. But because it is such an important thing to protect those with limited English proficiency, we just include that as an action step in the plan to make sure that that's an ongoing practice. And then it is an accomplishment that can be reported on in the next plan as well. So zoning updates. So we know that the city is in the process of a comprehensive update to the zoning code. And so we just want to make sure that as those zoning code amendments are put into place, that there is education that is happening for the community on those changes. And any updates to materials about zoning are also made so that the community stays informed. The heading on this slide, I failed to update. This should be a slide on fair housing education. So we always know that fair housing education is an ongoing need. It is often difficult to reach the folks who really need to know about their rights and the protections that are afforded to them. So we always include education as a goal in the plan. What we decide with respect to the specific actions differs depending on the community and what would best serve the community. For the action steps here, we want to continue publicizing fair housing rights and responsibilities through newsletters and other publications, reaching out to new landlords so that they understand what their obligations are with respect to fair housing. We also suggested that the city website be updated with some basic information on fair housing rights and where folks can go to file complaints if they feel that their rights have been violated. Action number 10, continue outreach in the form of information distribution, pop-ups, quarterly events. These are things that are already ongoing, but we want to make sure that they continue. And then supporting, again, the Fair Housing Council as they deliver services and monitor for fair housing compliance. And then finally, the last area is economic opportunities. So we know that Hispanic residents are more likely to be impacted by poverty and lower access to jobs and transportation and just amenities that make people have a more full and thriving life. And so one of the actions that we know is already planned is that would benefit lower income residents is the launch of the Paris Downtown Skills Training and Job Placement Facility Center. And so we know that that is something that is in the planning process. So this job training and employment placement and support services will help to reduce poverty among lower income residents. So we just want to make sure that as that is launched, that the outreach efforts are made to ensure that you're reaching the right kinds of people, that we're using the those translated services to help people really access those opportunities. And those were the 7 areas of impediments that we identified through this study with a list of what we feel are achievable actions, in part because some of them are already ongoing. And there's no harm in listing something that you're hoping to achieve and then adding to it a layer that says, okay, you're already planning to do this, so let's make sure that we also have things translated, do better outreach, update our educational materials, things like that.
Thank you.
So the recommendation is for City Council to conduct a public hearing on the 24-29 Consolidated Plan with the fiscal year 24-25 Annual Action Plan and the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, and to adopt resolution next in order approving the 24-29 Consolidated Plan, 24-25 Annual Action Plan with funding recommendations, and the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. This concludes our presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doctor. Council, anybody have any quick questions or comments before I open up the public hearing?
Yeah. Quick question, Doctor. If you could go back a couple slides. Just kind of went, I was trying to read it. One more, I think. Was that, okay. I think it's very important that we give out the rights for tenants, people who are renting. But oftentimes, and now I'm not talking about big corporations but oftentimes the landlords aren't always aware of what service. So are we providing that information to landlords? Is that part of this whole thing about you have the rights and responsibilities, but is that for the tenants and the landlords as well?
It's for both.
Okay.
So city staff is preparing for the upcoming fiscal year. We are going out to different apartment complexes. We're trying to get Fair Housing Council to come here either on a monthly or quarterly basis to assist with that education to the residents. And we're also talking to landlords as well and giving them that information.
Right. That's still also through, you mentioned apartments, but that's also through single-family homes as well?
Yes. We're opening up to any type of landlord.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Seeing none in the queue, I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:42. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak on this item in the audience? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 7:42. And at this time, I'll call for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Item 11 is public hearings continued. 11B is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order, approving the placement of CR&R solid waste delinquent balances on the Riverside County property tax roll. And this will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Mr. Matthew Schenk.
Thank you, Mayor. For this item, we will have Barbara Jimenez from CRNR to present.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City staff, and City Council members. My name is Barbara Jimenez, and I'm the Sustainability Manager from CR&R at our Paris location. Any questions?
Oh, no presentation? Anybody have any questions?
Was there a presentation provided?
No, just,
This is the
I just
public
wanted to let anybody know who's here, who has any questions, that I'll be happy to talk with them in the hallway if they have questions or concerns regarding their tax bill. Yeah.
Yes, so there's no actual presentation. This is just a public hearing.
Okay. So at this time, if council doesn't have any quick questions, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Councilman Corona?
Are we seeing a decrease? I know we were dealing with this last year, but are we seeing a decrease from last year? Are people being, are we seeing an increase?
It's definitely an increase, but it's across all of our cities.
Okay.
This year for the city, it was a little bit over $1 million in delinquencies.
Okay, total,
Yeah.
not individual people, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a process to kind of fix that? Are we, like, what are we doing besides?
So we do reach out to everybody. We do ask that they, pay their bill, and usually most of this is the property owners. It's the renters that are not paying, so the property owners are responsible. We still have 4 more weeks before it goes to tax roll. So on July 19th is when it actually goes to tax roll. So we're hoping that we can collect more and get more people off of the tax roll.
Okay, but you're able to contact the property owners?
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I think she answered my question. I'll just clarify once again. If they were deemed between now and July 19th, they'll be taken off of that list?
Correct.
Okay, and then just a quick comment. I know other cities, I've seen the smaller bins. If we could look into the possibility of giving that to parish residents, because a lot of people might live by themselves, or might be 2 people. I don't see the need to have 60-gallon bins, especially for people that live in these townhouses. Why do they need like a green waste bin that's 60 gallon, the big one, if they don't have a yard to clip? So that's just something to look going forward. So just a comment.
Duly noted.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:45. Pardon me? It's a public hearing. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests? You can sit down for now, Barbara. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Cedric Yarbrough. Start.
Yeah, I can speak?
Yes.
Yes.
I was speaking in regards to a bill that I received on my property for the tenant not paying, and I was contesting that.
Okay,
Now,
so,
because I have the information, the lease agreement, and also I have the bill that was sent out to the tenant.
great. So if there's nothing further, then you're going to discuss that with Barbara, who's here tonight. The woman that just came up to the podium?
Yes.
You can share that information, talk to her about your concerns.
Okay.
Okay, sir?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Montoya.
Start. Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Montoya. I'm here on behalf of my parents, who are first-generation homebuyers, and we're happy to be here in the city of Paris. I'd like to address some issues we have been having with the monopoly that is CR&R. We do have delinquent collection tax charges, and I do not believe it is out of our own negligence. I'd like to start off by kind of prefacing our situation a little bit. I'm actually also glad that Barbara is here. It's been very difficult to work with people at CR&R. We received a bill
Give me 1 second. Barbara, if you want to go outside to the hallway, and then we'll just let everybody know you're going to be out there. This way you don't have to worry about speaking low. Go ahead, ma'am.
We received a bill on the 5th of May of 2023. I do think it's important to note the years that I'm speaking on. That bill was dated from September 1st of 2021. We moved into a new community, new build community here in Paris on the 14th of September of 2021. So those dates to me, to begin with, do not align. We did not receive our bins or have any waste service rendered until the 7th of November of 2023. I would like to point out that my father works for a company doing maintenance at apartments, and the apartment complex does allow him to dispose of our waste there. So that is what he has been doing. I would like to point out that, again, I do not believe it is out of negligence as residents here in Paris that we are in the delinquent status currently. That first bill that we received was of $797, which was paid out of fear of going to collections. And like I mentioned, the service was not rendered to us for that bill that we received. Secondly, we currently are on delinquent charges for a bill of $491. Partially, that money that is being billed to us, again, like I mentioned earlier, some of those months that are being billed, we did not receive the service because, like I mentioned, we didn't receive our bins until the 7th of November of 2023. My parents and I have been calling CRNR to try and resolve this issue in hopes to either be refunded for those months that we didn't receive the service or to at least be credited. And we just kind of like to receive guidance. I'd also like to know if not having the trash service with CRNR is against the law. Because like I mentioned, we are law-abiding citizens and we just want to get this resolved. So I do believe that our situation is something important to consider in your votes for the approval of the placement of CRNR solid waste delinquent balances on the Riverside County property tax roll.
Okay, thank you. Please go see Barbara. She's the one that's going to be able to help you and explain all that to her. If you still continue to have problems, reach back to City Hall so we can try to help you work this out.
Is there anyone specific I could reach out to in City Hall?
Start with the city manager's office.
City Manager Clara Miramontes?
Clara Miramontes, yeah. But you need to first, you've got to the 19th to get this resolved. You've
Okay.
got paperwork to do all your proof and everything. I would definitely go out and speak with Barbara.
Yes, sir.
And plead your case with, not plead, but give your case to her. If you're not successful getting close to 19th, reach out to us.
Yes, sir. And about my question, is it against the law to not have the trash service with CRNR?
You have to be serviced by the agency for our city, which is CRNR.
Okay,
It's a minimum of one trash bin.
Okay.
Trash, and I think the recycle and the green waste as well.
okay, thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for coming down.
Karen Hall?
Good evening, council members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here also for the CRNR, and I want to explain my situation. I just received a letter of public hearing and nothing prior to this from CRNR. I have a small older home that's near Paris and Orange, and it's an average middle-class neighborhood. I plan on possibly retiring there. I'm going to try to do that. I'm a teacher, and I'm on a single income. The letter I received was dated May 17th, 24, and I didn't get it until the very end of the month. It was like the 28th, 29th. And it said I had outstanding charges with CRNR for $365.57. And I thought, what? And I have a tenant in that property, and the tenant has been a nice person. So I called the tenant the next day and said, I received this. Can you make a payment? And she said, well, I haven't been feeling well. And then I started to look at how these charges were. Then I called CRNR up, just a general number that was on the letter. And I was told, oh, no, those charges aren't $365. They're now $501. And I said, well, how many quarters is that? I said, I never received any information, no phone call, nothing. And I said, that's a lot of money for me as a single person, over $500. Had I heard this earlier or gotten any information, and I asked questions and I just got, well, go to the hearing, you know, you'll find out at the hearing. And I didn't get any specifics on anything. So I said, wouldn't it be a good idea? I can understand if they might have missed one quarter, you want to give them a little more time, send them a late notice. But maybe if they start missing 2 quarters, you could send the property owner the information. And I'm one of the landlords that's trying to be nice, you know, because the tenant's been in there a while. They're a nice family. I haven't had any issues with them. After talking to the tenant, she said, yes, I called in now and I told them I'm going to be making some payments. And I said, well, I thank you for that. But because she had medical conditions and she kind of just let it go and I didn't hear about it, I didn't call in. I'm extremely fair to these tenants. They've been very nice to me in the past and I'm trying to work things out. They're honestly renting my 3-bedroom home for less than a 2-bedroom apartment, an average 2-bedroom apartment in Paris. So for me, this is a big deal because, you know, I have to sometimes fix things and do other things for the home. And I really try to figure out what I can do just to kind of maintain the property because my goal is eventually to move in there down the road when I retire. And hopefully I can do that. So the questions I have is, if this happens, it doesn't seem fair to me because the lease, the rent, everything that I have.
The microphone is already off now. Your time's up. So do me a favor, Karen, and the questions really need to be addressed with Barbara outside.
Trying to say is there any way the council can work with CR&R together to maybe give us more advance notice or
Yeah, we're going
find
to,
a way to deal with this because now I got this and I have about a month and a half to come up with over $500, which is a lot. And I don't want additional fees or this going on my tax. It just doesn't seem fair. Maybe there's a way the council members can help people that are really trying and maybe we can extend the time period a little bit and that type of thing. And maybe you just are aware of that. That's all I'm saying. I'm happy to talk to Barbara
yeah,
here.
please
I'm
talk
more
to
than
Barbara, and
happy
we're
to
going to
do
have
that.
some questions at the end of this as well for our
Okay,
city
thank
manager
you.
to help address these problems in the future. Thank you.
Brenda Harris. That is all.
Okay, thank you. I think Brenda might have stepped outside since everybody's going out there with Barbara. Is there anybody else on this time in the audience that wishes to speak? Come on up.
Hello and good evening. My name is Melina Duque and I'm here representing my parents. My parents are property owners and they also received the delinquent notice. The only reason I am standing here, my mom's already talking to Miss Barbara, is because I believe that tenants, just like tenants have rights, I believe that property owners should also have rights. The tenants are no longer in my parents' house, and my parents do not wish to have any more tenants. They've had really bad experiences with their tenants just because all their bills rolled over to them, and then they're at an age where like they're a little older. They're not that old, but my dad's the only one that's working right now, so it's really hard for them to pay the delinquent bills that the tenants have left. Not only did they leave the ones for CR&R, they also left the ones for the water district, the gas company, and Edison. So I just feel like there has to be, like other people were saying, some balance between tenants and property owners. My parents were renting that property for $1,600. You don't really find that anymore. So I just feel like it should be their tenant's responsibility to pay what they were enjoying. Like they were enjoying the water, they were enjoying getting rid of their garbage, just like us. We at home pay for that, and it's not fair for us to double pay. So I hope that you consider that that tenants and property owners should have some type of right. And I think that's it. I'm probably forgetting more stuff, but I just really wanted to say that because we're just so frustrated with that. But thank you so much for your time.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Okay, this time I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:58. Council deliberation, comments, questions before a motion?
I have a comment.
Councilman Rab?
Yes, maybe we could work with CR&R so that they can inform the landlords maybe around November, December that the tenants aren't paying. Because I believe up until 2021, the trash bill was attached to either the City of Paris water bill or the EMWD bill. Both these EMWD told CR&R sometime, I think it was 2021, 2022, that they would no longer put the bills together. And I think there's a lack of information. I mean, I think a lot of people know, but there's still like a lack of information. Maybe landlords that live outside of the city are renting out. They don't have the knowledge of that, so maybe they can provide it notice 6 months ahead so they can make the proper movements, whether it be increasing the rent and just paying off the bill themselves or doing what they need to do to ensure that they're not in this situation. I do understand the situation. I do understand how people can fall through the cracks if the bills were decoupled in 2021. I do think that there needs to be more notice earlier on, and I think CR&R needs to be more open to people who have issues like the speakers who didn't receive their trash cans earlier. And I think another thing that I mentioned earlier that we need to really look into is I was over a friend's house in Temecula, and he had the smaller bins. I think that really is an issue for like people who are seniors that aren't going to be using the green bin. I live alone. I don't use the recycling bin probably once a month. It fills up. So I don't need all of that. So I think that it is a cost issue with inflation going on. A lot of people can't afford it. Townhouses, you don't need that huge green bin if you don't have a yard, if you don't have trees. So I think those are all things we really need to start looking forward with CR&R, moving forward to smaller bins for people, senior citizens, people living alone, people that live in the townhomes. So I think that would help alleviate some of the cost burden that are placed on people. So that's my comment.
Councilwoman Nava?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to make a point for staff to connect with CR&R. The fact that we've had folks waiting since the beginning of the meeting to work out these issues with Barbara is it's quite some time, and the fact that we just have one person out in the hall dealing with these several complaints and concerns. If we could have CR&R possibly provide additional staff for when that happens, I'm sure they're going around different cities, so just in order to, keep their paying customers, happy or at least somewhat content, if we could just have additional folks come out here and help alleviate with some of those issues. Thank you.
Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. It's just a frustrating situation. I know when this came to us before, we were trying to find out what was the best way to do things, and I don't think there was any perfect solution. But maybe if we could kind of look to see if there is a better situation, see what the other cities are doing. I think we kind of already did that, but I mean, as we can see, it's a growing problem. I think part of that is communication between CR&R and the landlords and the tenants and stuff like that. But I think as a city, we could also do our part too to let the landlords know, hey, if this happens, then you're kind of stuck with the bill. And I think as you mentioned, I don't think there's anyone here that disagrees that if you use the water, you should pay for it. If you use the trash, you should pay for it. But the problem is we're going months or multiple months of CR&R letting the landlords know, like your bills are delinquent, and then at the end you're going to be stuck with the bill, and some of them are kind of struggling too, just like those that are renting. I mean, $1,600 for a full house, that's kind of inexpensive, and so are you taking away from your mortgage payments or from your basic needs for that as well too? So if we could, I think we have like a list of rental properties. And so, I'm not talking about the apartments because they should all know, but I'm talking about like the small, single family homes, as people that mentioned. And I do want to thank the speakers, and they all just seem like decent people that want to get this thing resolved. I don't think they're here, trying to be slumlords and stuff. I think they're all decent people that chose to buy a property in Paris, and they're renting it out. But it's just unfortunate. But if we could kind of contact with the landlords and let them know, like, hey, the new policy is this, and because as Councilman Rab stated, a lot of them might not know about it yet, and maybe kind of revisit this, because I don't know if it's working with $1 million of delinquent fees. I mean, that's a lot of property owners that are dealing with this. But that's all the comments for me. Thank you.
Well, we're all basically saying the same thing. So my suggestion would just be is I think it's time to have another presentation by CR&R and that the electeds address them, not the city manager. We're the ones that are voting on this stuff. We need to ask them the questions directly. What are they doing? What's the timelines? Because I don't know what their policy is. I don't remember, but a landlord not knowing until it's time to get on the tax roll, I mean, there's got to be notices. I mean, I would think in 3 months' time, I mean, how long are you going to keep waiting? So it's not, it's the landlord's responsibility. That's the bottom line. I get it, but man, you don't tell them when it's hundreds of dollars later, so. Mayor Pro Tem?
I was just going to suggest one item. I know Barbara's taking care of all of those people. I was going to ask our city attorney, can we pause this item and go to the next item and hear the presentation, and then come back to this item to find out the progress that Barbara's made with those people in the lobby?
You're asking to pause this item to come back after the subsequent item at the same meeting?
Yes. Is that possible?
If the council would like to do that, you just understand that you have to reopen the public hearing to accept new testimony. But if that's the pleasure of the mayor, because the mayor is controlling the
I
meeting.
thought that might give us an idea, because we do have to take an action on this before a certain time period for the delinquencies.
Well,
But just
I mean,
to make
there's
sure.
a whole lot more people on this tax roll that aren't here. That's what we're voting on, and that's why we have Barbara here today to address
Right.
these folks. So I don't think that's going to change, should not change anything. But Madam City Manager?
If I may, it'd be great to have Barbara come back and answer that question. Only reason, because there is a deadline for this
That's
to
what I
be
was saying.
approved before the end of the fiscal year. Because, do you know what the deadline is?
If we just pause it till after.
It goes to the 19th, and I think the 21st, they send it to the county.
Of June?
July.
Of July, and our next council meeting's till July 30th.
But I was just asking to pause this item.
just for
To
tonight.
hear the
Yes.
next presentation. To pause it, and we could hear from Mr. Chris Gray on
they
the.
got a resolution.
Yeah, on the next item, and then come back to this item. So it'd only be like a 15-minute pause.
Yes, that's possible, if that's the pleasure.
Just switching. Yeah, that's what I was asking. I'm sorry. I was just trying to make sure that all of the people were satisfied and she had made arrangements.
I already closed the public hearing, so do we open it when we come back?
That's correct, yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's move on to item 12, business items not requiring a public hearing. 12A is consideration to receive and file the Western Riverside Council of Governments, WRCOG, Nexus Study Report presented by Chris Gray, Deputy Executive Director of WRCOG. This will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Mr. Matthew Shank.
Thank you, Mayor. As you just stated, this presentation you are about to hear is on the WRCOG TUMP Nexus Study. This item will be presented by Chris Gray, who is the Deputy Executive Director of WRCOG. Item also ties to the next business item, which is the potential business license tax.
Good evening, members of the council. For those of you who, a little bit of a refresher, TUMF, the Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, is a regional impact fee that is administered by WRCOG. Impact fees are charges levied on new development to pay their fair share of new facilities. Common impact fees include water, sewer, parks, transportation. And as I'm sure you well know, we never get enough state and federal funding, which is the primary reason why we rely on impact fees to build our infrastructure projects. We are required periodically to prepare what's called a nexus study. The nexus study shows the connection between the fee that we're charging and the facilities that will be built from the fee. We are required by state law to identify the purpose of the fee, provide a list of the specific public facilities, and show a relationship between the fee and the development is imposed on. Some notes, fees can't be used. You cannot charge more than the cost of the project. You cannot use fees for general revenue purposes. You cannot use fees to remedy existing deficiency, and you also cannot use fees for operations and maintenance. The TUMP program was identified to address cumulative transportation impacts, so impacts that occur on major regional roadways. We collect funds from all types of new development, except for public facilities and a handful of other projects. So single-family, multifamily, warehouses, other industrial retail service office. WRCOG collects the funds, returns them back to your city. I will mention that Paris has long been a great partner with WRCOG. I worked with Brad and Habib and other members of your staff, and we've been able to deliver a number of projects. And WCOG is the program administrator, and part of that is we prepare regular updates of the Nexus study. First Nexus study was done in the early 2000s, and we've done regular updates 2005, 2007, 2009, and 2017. We started our current Nexus study update in 2021, and we've proceeded to update all the underlying data in the study. Here's a map of the TUMF network. The primary reason why we're doing this is, as you all know, things cost a lot more. Steel, labor, concrete, asphalt, anything that you buy has costs a lot. We've seen about a 30 to 50% increase in cost items. Some have gone up more than that. For example, the cost of steel has doubled. The cost of bridges have tripled in the past 6 years. And what the TUMF Nexus study does is it allocates additional funding to city project. This is a subset of the projects that are will receive additional funding from the TUMF Nexus study. Case Road, Ellis, Evans, Ethan and we fund a variety of roadways and interchange projects. To do that, the fee will need to be increased. This shows the recommended fee levels based on our current study. You'll notice all the fees go up. The single-family residential does increase, as does multifamily, industrial, service, office, and retail. I would point out that while TUMF is a fee that's assessed on development, there are a number of other fees assessed on development. In fact, we do regular studies of impact fees collected by other jurisdictions and have determined that the major fee that's assessed on new development is typically water and sewer. TUMF is about 1%, roughly 1% of the total development costs, and fees are anywhere between 5 to 10% of total development costs, all fees. Since the state has a habit of not making our lives any easier, they passed a law a couple years ago called AB 602. It requires that agencies that collect fees on single-family units adjust the fee based on the size of the unit. Essentially, smaller units, which have less square footage, should pay less fee. And we ended up doing a detailed study, and we'll be talking about, we've come up with a sliding scale. And the reason why this sliding scale is something we're working on is because it's a way to lessen the impact on really your new home buyers. This is our preliminary recommendation on the sliding scale. You'll see that person's buying what we call the starter homes, the 1,800 square foot or less. Their fee would increase by about $2,000, whereas the people buying the 2,700 square foot house and more. We did develop these ranges based on consultation with our friends at the Building Industry Association, as well as actual projects that are currently under construction, as well as projects that have been built over the last 2 years. One question we commonly get is there's a notation that the fee that's charged on industrial uses should be higher because on a per square foot basis, the fee is low. I would point out that the fee is proportional to how much traffic is generated by a project. So I've included 3 common uses. The first one is a membership retailer. This is Costco Sam's. A typical Sam's or Costco produces 550 peak hour trips. The equivalent office building is about 175,000 square feet. The equivalent warehouse is 2.4 million square feet in terms of number of trips. And you'll see that the warehouse pays the highest number, a warehouse of that size pays 2.2 million, which is much higher than the other uses. So the WCOG Executive Committee, of which Mayor Pro Tem Rogers is our member, is your representative, is the one that approves the Nexus study. They'll be voting to adopt the Nexus study and then adopting the actual fee schedule. Here's our schedule to complete. So we released the draft study on May 13th. We had 2 informational meetings open to the public, one on May 21st, one on June 4th. On Monday, the 30-day comment period closed. We're going to spend June and July responding to comments. At that point, we'll determine whether we need to recirculate the study or the study can move forward as is. Assuming no significant changes are made, we'll bring that forward to our various WCOG committees. And then in September, possibly October, we'll bring it to our executive committee for final approval. One question I often get asked is, what's the city's role in all of this? The actual Nexus study approval is going to occur through the WCOG committee system. So your public works, Your Public Works Director, your city engineer, your city manager, and your executive committee member will be asked to approve the study at upcoming WRCOG meetings. Once that's approved, the actual implementation will occur through adoption of an ordinance. That's something that you will do through your own process, and that likely will happen in November, December. And we're happy to work with your staff and your city attorney to help them through that process. The other question we get is when any fee increase is going to occur. I can tell you that it can often take 3 to 6 months to actually implement a fee increase once the Nexus study is approved. And that's because we have a lot of steps to do, and we have to manage this through 20 different agencies. So we're looking at if the Nexus study is approved and the fees are adjusted, it's most likely March or April 1st. July 1st, 2025 might be most likely. And until then, the current fees would stay in effect. So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for allowing me to present, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that report or presentation. Council, anybody have any questions or comments? Guess you did a great job. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to call for any public comment. Madam Clerk, do I request to speak on this?
No, sir.
All right. Well, this is just basically a report. All right, so now we're going to go back to 12A. Oh, excuse me, that was 12A. Now we're going to go back to 11B. And I'm going to reopen the public comment, or public hearing at 8:14. And I'm going to call on Barbara to come to the podium, give us any update on how things went out there. You made it back, so you survived.
I made it back in one piece. So I did have 7 residents, and we did help them all. We're going to contact them. A couple of them were, there was a confusion with their bill. I don't know why they weren't getting a bill. They were unaware, so we have to look into that. The rest of them were all tenant situations where the tenants weren't paying that. So we can set up a payment program with them. I gave them my number. They have the number of the tax roll lady at work. So we're good. We'll take care of them.
Okay, let me open the dais here for any questions from my colleagues here. Council, anybody have any questions? Councilman Corona?
Yeah, we do appreciate you talking to the residents and to the landlords out there. The question I have is, you were stating that this is the way it's done and also like you're having these issues. The setup that we have right now, is that the best setup in your opinion, or are other cities dealing with the easier, going through this easier?
They all have the same. It's the same process that we use across the board with all of our cities.
Same process, and
yeah.
you're just getting the same issues.
Yeah, what we always do, we always recommend to our landlords to have the trash bill go in their name and that they can pay it. And this way, if the tenants don't pay it, it's not going to be an issue because it's already built into their rent.
It's already built into rent, yeah, which I figured, but I don't want to give that advice to landlords.
Well, I gave that advice to all of them.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Which seems like the smart thing.
Yeah, and they all accepted it. They all thought it made sense.
It's
So
better-
to prevent this from happening in the future.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mayor Pro Tem?
Just to confirm, Barbara, the 7 residents that you did have the opportunity to help tonight, thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Will their names be taken off the tax rolls?
Yes. Once they contact and once we have somebody that we can actually, talk to, yes, we will definitely. We have
Okay.
another month to get them squared away.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to confirm that before we vote on this item.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anybody else in the queue. Just one question I have is, how long, when a tenant is not paying it, how long do you wait before you notify the landlord?
They get monthly bills, and then it goes by like 45 days, 60 days. So it goes like in 30-day increments where they keep getting the delinquency charges and the notices. And then when it starts to go on tax roll, they get notified in May that it's going on tax roll. So that's how they find out.
This is a fiscal year or calendar year?
Fiscal year.
So you start in July, and the first notice for a landlord is not until May?
Correct, beginning of May. Besides all the other monthly bills and letters that are sent out during that time frame, that letting them know they're delinquent. So they're contacted throughout the year.
The tenant is delinquent.
The tenant and the.
How many days does it take before you notify the landlord?
Well, so after the bill goes 30 days of being delinquent, they are notified. If the
30 days.
right,
Okay.
if their information's on their account.
Well,
And that's what happens, sometimes they're not. The tenant's opening up the account and they don't have the landlord on there.
That's, 30 days is great. I didn't know if it was 6 months from now, almost a year, so.
Yep.
All right, appreciate it. Anybody, if no one has no more comments, we will close the public hearing. Make sure the folks in the audience that did talk earlier, you have a chance to talk again. Anybody want to have any comments? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at 8:18. Thank you, Barb. And at this time, I will call for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, 12B. 12B is a consideration to discuss and provide direction for a potential business license tax for distribution and industrial facilities. This will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Matthew Schenk.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Yes, tonight we are presenting the Industrial Warehouse and Distribution Facilities Business License Tax. This is obviously a very brief presentation compared to what is in the staff report. A little background, this item was presented on May 14th, and it was requested by City Council to bring back 5 items with additional information for consideration. So those items were whether to tax as a special or general tax, options for a CPI escalator with a cap, a minimum building size of 100,000 square feet, options other than 30 years. Tonight we'll present 12 years, 20 years, and 30 years. And lastly, directed staff to review the recently released Nexus study, as was presented in the prior presentation by WRCOG, and to lastly work with NADOP to find a resolution on a fair share tax rate. Couple factors to consider tonight. As mentioned, we have looking for direction on whether or not to move forward in 2024 or 2025, whether to have the tax as a general or a special tax, whether or not to include an inflator, and lastly, the length of the tax, whether it be 12, 20, or 30 years. So far as timing, we have 3 options to go with. November 5th, 2024, March 4th, 2025, or November 4th, 2025. A couple, as far as the timelines, wanted to give you for the November 5th, 2024 general election, all necessary items will need to be forwarded to the Registrar of Voters by August 9th of 2024, which means all resolutions to council for approval will be needed by July 30th, 2024. For the primary election on March 4th, 2025, all items will need to be presented to the registrar by December 6th, 2024. And all resolutions to council will need to be available for approval by November 12th, 2024. And lastly, the November 4th, 2025 election, all items will need to be to the registrar on August 8th, 2025, and all resolutions to council by July 29th, 2025. As far as the costs associated with the different elections, we have been notified that the general election, if it were to be on the November 5th ballot, would cost approximately $37,000. And as far as the March 4th and November 4th of 2025, we were actually notified today that the cost is $130,000 estimated. However, for 2025, the registrar is doing a fee study, so those costs may change. Next item to consider is a general versus special tax. General tax, the funds are able to be placed into the general fund and can be used in any manner, unrestricted. For a special tax, the funds can only be used as prescribed in the ballot language and must be placed into a restricted special fund. outside of the general fund. The next item to consider is an inflator. Inflators can be used to adjust costs to keep up with the rising rate of inflation. Generally, the city uses the CPI for all urban consumers for the Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ontario region. And for reference, the most current CPI adjustment is 4.26% for March 2023 through March 2024. Next, we have the length of tax measure. Tonight, I will be presenting 3 options for 12, 20, and 30 years. Each option varies the amount of revenue the city could potentially receive, and the staff will present the full cost and full share options under each of the 3 terms. First, we're presenting the 30-year tax duration, which has a target revenue of $127 million. This spreadsheet may look a little confusing, so I'm going to break it up in about 4 parts for you. The top left, you'll see the $127 million with CPI for 2024. That's a 30-year target revenue. Next, just down below that to the far left, you'll see 4 different categories. These categories are the different phases of completion for these warehouses. For example, category 1 is simply just completed warehouses. Category 2 is completed as well as under construction. Category 3 has the prior 2 as well as entitled. So category 4 has the prior 3, including projects in process. The next column to the right, just left of center, is the applicable square footage that is affected. And then the 3 right columns are the 3 different studies to choose from. First is the original proposed rates by Willdan, which includes 100% share of the cost. Next is the 2021 ITE manual, or 57.9% of the fair share. And then lastly is the most recent 2023 WRCOG study, which includes a 32.6% fair share. Just giving you a range, it works highest number at top, and as you add more square footage, the number per square foot goes down. So the range at the highest within the 30-year is 15.7 cents per square foot, all the way down to the lowest of 2.8 cents per square foot. Next, we have the 12-year tax duration. This is a target revenue of 57.5. For reference, the 30-year was 127 million. In that 12-year tax duration, we have 2 slurry seals, one at year 4, one at year 8, and a grind overlay at year 12. Again, same categories, same phase of completion within the warehouses, same square footage, slight different numbers. The range for the 12-year tax duration is a high of 18 cents a square foot and a low of 3 cents per square foot. Lastly, we have the 20-year tax duration. This has 2 additional slurry seals with it, so 4 total, one at year 4, 8, 16, and 20, and a grind-in overlay at year 12. Again, the applicable square footage and completion is the same as the prior 2 comparisons. For comparison, for the 12-year was the 57.5 million. We're here for the 20 years, 68.5 million, approximately 10 million more. The range has a top of 13 cents a square foot and a bottom of 2 cents a square foot. So the city did meet with NADOP on May 30th, 2024. Their recommendation was a no escalator, have the tax be a special tax out of the general fund, a 12-year term, and they actually agreed to 5 cents for 12 years and wanted to point out that based on the WRCOG Nexus study, the fair share would be 4 cents a square foot. So a 1 additional cent per square foot may not sound like a lot, but 1 cent is actually equal to $395,000 in 1 year. And in the 12-year term, that would be approximately 4.7 million additional funding that the city would receive. So 1 penny does make a big difference. The city also met with Parish Neighbors in Action on June 6th, and their recommendation was they preferred to wait until 2025 to complete the Nexus study, and they also preferred a special tax out of the general fund. Before I give the staff recommendation, I do need to point out that today the city received a letter from Franco Pacheco with Paris Parents for Clean Air, which is in front of you. They were requesting a minimum of 15 cents per square foot, as well as an escalator and some other adjustments. As for the staff recommendation, we are requesting direction to move forward as a general or special tax. The timing, so do we want to have the tax go on the 24 or 25 ballot? Which tax rate to use? The duration of the tax measure? Whether to include a CPI escalator and a cap? And lastly, an applicable building size or building type. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer, as well as engineering, any questions council may have.
Council, any questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Well, public comment period. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Carlos Cervantes.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Vargas. My name is Carlos Cervantes. I'm here to talk about item 12B, the warehouse tax. I want to thank Ernie, I'm not sure if he's like the city planner, and Councilmember Croner for reaching out to Paris Parents for Clean Air and other residents. We really wanted warehouses to be taxed for all the damage that they've done to roads and residents. But if the council's going to decide to tax the warehouses at most 5 cents per square foot, which is less than half from the special tax that was brought up before, which you all publicly stated you supported, we can't allow the bare minimum. So if we're going to get crumbs because this council wants to coddle NIOP, which is the real estate group that represents the logistics centers, aka warehouses, I think it's pretty sad that elected officials are considering the feelings of warehouse representatives more than pushing for a tax that would benefit their constituents the most. This tax would help fix the roads that diesel trucks have completely destroyed. It shouldn't really be so much about everything that NIOP wants. It's supposed to be fair. We were willing to compromise on a lot of things, but the more that we offered certain things where we were able to compromise, it was more like, well, what about NIOP? That's not fair to NIOP. And it's like, no, you guys are supposed to be representing the city of Paris. You guys are supposed to be representing the constituents. So I do think that even if NIOP is recommending 5 cents per square foot, it's not enough. We don't need a cap. We need to make sure that we keep in mind inflation, because you guys won't be on this podium for forever. So we want to make sure that the elected officials that come after you guys are going to have something there that is responsible, and making sure that we adjust it for inflation, because it's going to cost more to repair a road in 6 years than it is right now. And we can see it now with inflation just on the rise, how unbalanced or how unpredictable the economy is. So I really hope that the relationship that you guys have to NIOP, it's not necessarily going to predict exactly how this tax will go. We want to make sure that these warehouses are being taxed as much as possible, even if that means what means fair to you, just because if it were up to us, I know that it would be way more, but it's not necessarily up to us, and it's not necessarily up to NIOP. It's up to every single person that's sitting up here. I had a really long speech dedicated to bashing all of you, but I really just want to come up here because you guys see us as hecklers. We're really just concerned residents. We've lived here for a really long time, and I am literally just pleading that you guys do what's right for the residents that you guys all represent, for the economic growth that has obviously came here and it's only benefited a certain amount of people. I really hope that this money can go towards a better Paris. Some of you are up for re-election. This can really, really help you guys in that. We do think that it should be fair. And I don't think that 5 cents with a 12-year cap is fair. I think it needs to be adjusted. I think we need to get with a third party that's going to be more neutral, because right now we see it steering more for NIOP, and I don't think that's fair. I do hope that you guys make a responsible decision today. Thank you.
Bill Blankenship.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council and staff. My name is Bill Blankenship, representing NAIOP Inland Empire Chapter. I'm here this evening to thank staff and thank you all for allowing us to have a process for discussion of this critical and important issue that will impact the industry. We did have a conversation with staff, and I think from the very beginning, we have advocated for not a general tax, but a designated tax that would go for road improvements. And I think that's where we've all started with this issue going back to last year. So it would be a designated tax on a general tax. We believe that based on what is in your staff report and the discussions that have been had previously, it's critical that this election occurs next year when there's not a crowded ballot from the very top at the state level all the way down to the local level, when we'll see local taxes at RCTC, we'll see state bonds for schools, we'll see state tax measures, and potentially this, in addition to all the candidate elections and everything else, there will be a tremendous amount of stress on the voter, if you will, who will be trying to kind of fare through all these issues. NAOP has taken the WRCOG model, and they have taken the 4% that would be associated under scenario 3, which is a compromise from us. Originally, we had advocated for scenario 4, and we pushed that up to 5 cents and eliminated the cap. We believe that 12 years makes a lot of sense because you will have 3 series of maintenance that will occur, and then that would be a good time to stop and do a evaluation of the program and how it's going and the actual costs that are involved. The 1 cent, as you heard tonight, equals out to nearly $5 million, $4.8 million, and we believe that those are fair compromises. Scott, who's here this evening, Scott Hildebrand, who's a member of our board of directors, and also is part of Webb & Associates, who does a tremendous amount of work here. He will talk in greater detail as to the deal points, or if you will, kind of the points and kind of how we arrived at that. With that, I'd like to say again, thank you for the opportunity. The industry is proud to be here, and as a partner in your community, we're looking forward to this being decided this evening and the continual discussion as it will ensue over the months ahead as we lead to next year's election. Again, thank you, and have a nice evening.
Scott Hildebrandt.
Good evening, Council. Scott Hildebrandt with Albert A. Webb Associates, also Board of Directors for NAOP. Again, I'd like to echo Mr. Blankenship and thank the council and staff for the opportunity to meet with us. We did, as you recall, last month, sat here and had a discussion with you about methodology. And the original methodology and the numbers prepared by Wildan did not take distribution of trucks into account. And NAOP indicated they would be willing to look at their fair share. The city then took a look at a methodology provided by ITE, Institute for Traffic Engineers, national organization that does look at traffic not only nationally, but does look at certain regional traffic distribution. We felt that that study did not go far enough in depth to reflect the actual numbers, the actual percentage. We presented a methodology by the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, AASHTO, again, another national organization that also looks at traffic on a national and regional level. The concern expressed by the city was the age of that study that was conducted by and approved by the City of Redlands. At that particular hearing, it was brought up that WRCOG had just developed a new study with updated numbers, and we had agreed that we would take a look at not only the WRCOG numbers, because it was brought to our attention literally the day of the hearing, but that we would sit down with staff and look at options. What we found was in looking at the WRCOG numbers, they very closely mirrored the AASHTO numbers that were adopted by the City of Redlands. So roughly 32.5% of truck traffic associated with the warehouses. So when we took a look at the previous numbers that were prepared by the city, We first took a look at removing the buildings under 100,000 square feet. And even though we removed those buildings from the equation, we left the roads that were in front of those buildings in the program. So they're not going to pay this tax, but they are going to get the benefit of having their roads improved. So we looked at that, and that's how we got to the 4 cents per square foot for the 12-year program, which again made sense. So then we looked at the CPI, and what we felt was we could look at the 4 cents, and I believe the number used by the city was roughly 4.25%. And if you compare that over 12 years versus 5 cents per square foot, I think you'll come up with about the same number. So that's the reason why we proposed 5 cents without an escalator.
Yep. Thank you.
Jillian Menez.
Hello, good evening, Council. I wasn't expecting to be able to be here today, so I didn't really prepare too much, but I did want to clarify a couple of things on behalf of Paris Neighbors in Action. It is very unfortunate that we cannot support this tax going into this year. The primary reason is not because it's not a special tax. That was not a very major issue on our behalf. We were more than happy to go with the general tax and then have a citizen oversight committee. We thought that that was fair. It's more so the fact that this tax has been so gutted of its, integrity, and it's just turned into very. It's been made by and for NIOP. It's not for the residents anymore. So that's very unfortunate. I do want to say we do fully support adding a CPI inflator. I think it's extremely important. If inflation gets really high, then that means the cost to fixing the roads will also increase. And that extra burden, if we have a cap and we are not able to fulfill that financial need from this tax, that burden will go to the residents. And we don't have an inflation cap to fall back on. So it's not fair to give that out to NIOP, who multi-million-dollar, they can handle it. Yes for the CPI, no for the cap on that. Also, as it is, the rate per square foot is much too low. 5 cents per square foot in comparison to the original 10.7 that was proposed is an insane jump. And again, we need to find a better middle ground, or better yet, bring it to the voters to decide what that middle ground will be. So I propose that when we bring this tax back and when we continue to discuss it, we discuss raising that cent per square foot, because again, that is the ceiling. So that is a ceiling that us voters will be voting on. And then again, later on, it will be the council to decide the real percentage, and the cards will fall where they may when that happens. But as of now, we need to give the voters as much leeway as possible in determining that number. We do support including the entitled buildings, and I think NIOP should support that as well, as it reduces the burden of each warehouse, and it gives more of a fair share between them. I wanted to say thank you to Mayor Vargas and David Rabb. You guys listened. We had conversations, and I appreciate that. Let's continue the conversation, and hopefully we can work together to make something that we can all be proud of.
Thank you.
That is all.
Anybody else at this time wish to speak on this item? All right, gonna move on. Council, deliberation, questions, comments? Please use the queue. Councilman Rabb?
Yes, just a quick comment. I think the first thing we need to probably most likely address is when we want to move forward with this tax and whether or not we want to have a special or general. I've been pretty clear that I think November 2025, although we are losing a year of revenue, I think it's the best route to go forward. And the fact that this upcoming election, I think all the parties agree that the ballot will be will be congested. You have president, you have senator, you have on down ballot, you have multiple propositions. And I think I'm in favor of a special tax. I know the threshold is higher, but we just want to ensure that the money is regulated to the construction of roads. So I think that's the first thing we need to determine, and then moving on from that, determining the length. And then if we decide to go forward with either the March 2025, which I think is a bad time because you're coming off the heels of the presidential election. If we go with November of 2025, I think the discussion regarding the amount is something that we should continue to have. I do think we should really look into a CPI adjustment. I know certain individuals don't want a CPI adjustment, but just seeing how everything's gone up in the last few years, I think it's something we should consider, maybe to ameliorate some of the concerns regarding hyperinflation. We can look at how the CPI has increased over the last, say if we go for the 12-year duration, how the CPI increased from 2012 through 2024, maybe get the average over that time, build it in so everyone knows it's a consistent increase, such as like your property tax. Prop 13 relegated our property tax increase to 2%. So we know that's going to go 2% versus how it went prior to 1978 where your property tax could go up. I think that's something that we should seriously consider, but I think the main thing to consider, and then also the options in terms of completed projects, projects under construction, item 2, item 3, or item 4. It seems to be the consensus, just in my view, that item 3 is the best way to move forward. Not every project that is in plan check is going to be approved. We see a slowdown. We see a little bit more scrutiny on all ends regarding these projects. So I think the main thing that we need to determine first is the time of the election. And then if we have more time, we can continue these conversations. But I think the big issue is that we don't want to just say, okay, we're going to have this in November of 2025, and then it gets shoved into the background till, you have the holidays, you have the summer break, you have the elections, you have the holidays, you have the post-holiday, that first January meeting is pretty compacted. We don't want to come back in February or March of 25 and then keep the ball rolling. We want to keep a consistent conversation during that time period. So I think those are the things we need to consider first. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. When we do our traffic studies, with the methodology that was brought up, do we use the WRCOG Nexus study? Have we ever done it for?
Thank you, Councilman Corona. We actually use ITE.
We always.
And and the latest study that we refer to right now is a 2021 ITE.
ITE,
handbook.
okay.
Correct.
Now, in going forward, I mean, that WRCOG, they just came in with the study and it's updated. Do you foresee that we're going to use that study instead?
No, I don't believe so because we use IT because it's universally used. All traffic engineers use that handbook in order to provide us with the studies and the impacts.
Now, with the latest WRCOG Nexus study, is this their final have they ever gave us another study and
for ARCOGs?
Yeah, for the WRCOG Nexus study.
Study that they generated is actually to assess the fees that they're
is this their first study that they've presented?
I don't know if they had done prior ones, but this is the one that
Oh,
we
okay.
have.
I would just like to clarify, this is not WRCOG's Nexus study, it's a truck traffic study.
Gotcha.
We did one in 2019, we did one in 2022. We're going to do one, we're committed to doing one of them every 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
We did part of the reason we did it this year because we knew that there were changes in traffic because of COVID. We, for example, found that employment went down at warehouses versus 2019. We found travel patterns different, but like all of our products, we plan on updating them on a regular basis.
Okay, so with the draft that you guys came up with right now, is that your final draft?
The study has the truck trip generation study we did was completed last year.
It was completed, okay.
So that is a final, that is not a draft, that is a final study. It's been completed. We released it, it's posted on our website. I would point out it's actually being used nationally because we get calls from people in Texas and Pennsylvania asking us about the study. But yes, the current study that you have is our final study.
Okay. All right. I do appreciate that. But you're saying that our engineering within our city, we use IT. That's our
That is
standard.
correct, because we don't only look at trucks, we look at all modes of,
Okay.
transportation.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just kind of comments. I think they did have some great points. My concern though is on having an election in an odd year, right? You're gonna have a low turnout, and we saw that last year. I mean, we saw that in 2023. We did it, and I think it was like 8%. Do we have the numbers? Was it about 8%? Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a low turn. It was the low turnout last year. It's gonna be a low turnout next year. I think the goal is that we want to hear from everybody, from as many people as we can, because for every item that we have, we can't go ask every single resident what their opinion is, right? I mean, as a council, it's our duty to kind of come up with what we think their residents want and what their needs are. But my concern is that if we do it on a low voter turnout, you're not getting the voice of our residents. And I know that it's going to be a busy ballot, right, for 2024, but I think that's kind of what we want. Now, I was the one that asked our staff to go reach out to NAIOP and to the Paris Neighbors in Action, and I want to thank you all for giving your input. But my concerns are still valid. I know in the past, and I'm going to be blunt, we used to have back in the day councils that didn't want to have even the elections on even years. And the excuse was, quote, if I can remember correctly, was it takes too long for the voter registrar to count them. So that's why we need to have them on odd years, which is code for, hey, we got to make sure as little people as vote as possible, which is what I was hearing. So I'm not in favor of putting it in 2025. I would rather put it in 2026, to be honest with you. But here we are. If we do nothing right now, then the voters, the city, which is the taxpayers in our city, are going to be paying essentially 100% of the cost right now. And what I'm hearing that NAIOP wants to pay their fair share, and I definitely agree, right? I know in a letter that we did receive that, hey, they should be paying for all streets. Well, no trucks are driving on my street. That's the reality, right? There are some streets that they do drive on that they shouldn't be driving on. But it shouldn't be for I don't expect that this money should be used to fix my street. There are some streets, Nuevo Road, no trucks should be on there, but we see them, right? Same thing with Ramona Expressway. But the biggest complaint that I receive from residents right now, and I know my colleagues all hear it, is the condition of our roads. Now, part of that is because of the heavy rains that just happened, but we cannot go through all the streets and fix them with the money that's allocated for this year, right? I think the heavy rains were a disaster for our roads, and it's not just Paris. Okay, 'cause we're hearing the same complaints in Menifee and other parts of the county that had to deal with the same issues. So I'm looking forward to hear kind of the rest of my concerns, but that's kind of what I'm kind of trying to I guess debate within myself, because I do understand the concerns. Maybe we need more time. I think maybe 15 cents per square foot might be a little high, but essentially I want this to pass, right? And I don't think a special tax, 66.6% of the residents are gonna support this, knowing that NAIOP are gonna be probably doing the same thing that they did in 2023, which was do their best to confuse the voters, which is what happened. And so I think we have to have a compromise. I want a situation where NAIOP's not happy and our residents aren't fully happy, and I think in that case that we could kind of compromise, and I hopefully we could get the day where not only that NAIOP says, okay, we're not going to oppose this, but they're actually going to support it with the same effort that they did to oppose the last one. So I think I'll just stop right there because I get.
All right, well, I'm trying to maintain kind of items here, so you're preferring 26 is really your preference?
I would rather.
This is discussion. I'm not holding you to it.
Yeah. I'm open to that.
Special tax or general tax?
I'd prefer general tax, but if we do it in 2025, you can.
12, 20, or 30?
Definitely in fall.
Excuse me?
Fall, November? Is that what you're asking?
No.
I'm sorry.
The duration.
12.
CPI with an adjustment or no, or?
I wasn't in favor before, but now I am after Ms. Menez. She did have a point that even though we'll have
It's
a cap
quick
for
question,
NAIOP,
sir.
Yeah.
You're in
Well, no,
favor
no,
of
no, no. I
CPI?
think it's important. Yes.
Okay,
Because we don't have a CPI.
gotcha. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers.
In light of the time element, I'll be very brief. I also think the special tax is important because the funds are designated just for the roads. There's no confusion with that. So I also support the special tax for the following year in 2025. I think the time frame of 12 years is sufficient. We can still discuss the methodology and the amount later. And then, yeah. And I think it's important that, that we don't go through what we did the last time, because I always think you learn from the mistakes you made. I think the last time we didn't have the support from NAIOP, and all of the mailers that they put out helped defeat the measure. So I would think we would stand a better chance of doing this and having it pass when we don't have all of those mailers sent out in opposition. There were probably at least 7 or 8 of them that were sent out. And I really want to see this pass because the roads need to be fixed. And I think that the industrial partners need to do their fair share based on their trips.
Councilwoman Nava?
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, it hasn't been stated, but it would cost $37,000 to add it to this year's election cycle. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. It would be $37,000 for the general election.
And we're estimating that if we were to postpone this for 2025, it would be $137,000.
$137,000, that's correct.
Okay, so that's almost a $100,000 difference, right? And where is this money being pulled from?
It would be the general fund.
The general fund. Okay, so thank you. So again, I know there's some conversation about having this be geared towards a special tax or a general fund tax, but again, a lot of this is interchangeable, and the repairs that our road needs were due yesterday. So I just know that this is a time-sensitive matter, and I want to make sure I acknowledge that. And then also, staff at one point was working with CCAEJ, who mentioned that they were not involved in any conversation, even though they were mentioned that they would be kept updated. Is any staff member able to provide any input on that? The nonprofit CCAEJ. Okay, so just moving forward, as this conversation continues, if we can make sure we incorporate them into this discussion, I think it's important since they've been involved in prior meetings. I'd like them to continue sharing their concerns and whatnot. And then just one more thing for NAIOP. I know there's a lot of mention about their fair share, but at the end of the day, this industry is happening here in our communities. So if we were to look at principle, I just think it's a matter of doing right by the communities that you're inflicting, and in this case, the damage that have been caused to our roads. So those are just some points that I have, and I don't know if you have any questions for me, Mayor. I don't know if that
just
answered.
to try to keep a track here, 25, 24, 25, 26.
24,
Special tax, general tax.
general tax.
Yeah, and the rest of these questions can be worked out as we go, but if you have any idea, are you liking a 12-year, 20-year, or 30-year plan?
I indefinite to that answer.
Okay, that's fine. Any thoughts on CPI or adjustments or inflators?
Definitely CPI.
Okay.
Definitely escalator.
All right, my turn, and I know it's getting late for everybody, so I'm not pickle think about 24 because of all the stuff that's on there, and for me, it's important to get this tax done, so 25, if it's got to go to 26, as Corona's advising, that's fine too. My preference is a special tax. I've said that from the get-go. I want these funds specifically for the roads that need them, or that are being affected here. And working with both everybody, that also creates a citizen oversight committee that makes sure those monies are being spent on that. And you can do that on a special tax, you can't do that on a general tax. 12 years for me is sufficient. This way it's, can be revisited again at the end of the 12. We're all not going to be here forever. I do believe in a CPI, but with a cap. And I don't remember the numbers, 1, 2, and 3. What's number 3?
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 3 is which tax
Completed,
rate?
under construction, and entitled.
So the,
I've heard Councilman Rad was the only one that kind of referred that. Can you go back? You were on that screen. Go back. And the last one is projects.
here's the 12 years. That's-
Projects in process. Can you be more specific? Is this something, somebody turned something in that's not necessarily approved, right?
Yeah, that's not approved. It's in the entire process with the staff.
I would go with 3, which is completed, under construction, and they're entitled. So that seems to be more prudent. You can go to your final screen again. A couple of comments I did hear, and they're right. It's not just about NAOP. This is everybody. Our community groups that are here. Now we have CCEAJ is being added to this now. It's about everybody. We need to work together. The concerns with the NAOP has been addressed by one of my other colleagues, is they're a powerful entity, yes, and they did some big oppositions the last time, so we need to bring them in. We want them to adopt an agreement too, along with everybody, our community as well, and any representatives. So I want this to be a uniform decision here, so. Okay, any more comments from council?
Yeah, quick question. For NAOP. Bill, if I could just ask you real quick, since you represent NAOP. Hi, Bill. I know that your preference is obviously going to be the more inexpensive one. You're looking out for the people and stuff. What are your opinions on the ITE? Since that's universally, is that okay? Well, just quick question for you though, because I know you represent the warehouse developers, and what I keep hearing is that you guys want to pay your fair share, right?
Yes, we do.
That's okay. Which I definitely agree. I don't think you guys should be paying exorbitantly amount more when it comes to road repair. Right? What's the possibility? Because we're going to wait a whole nother year, and the taxpayers are going to be having to cover this for the next year. Is there a way that we could get you guys to kind of fund what you guys think is your fair share for the next year? Is there a way we could get you in contact with the Public Works and Finance? Is that kind of something that we could do without having to go to taxes and everything, or without
I'm not
having to go
sure
to
how you
elections?
do that, council member. Yeah, I'm not sure how you do that.
Okay.
I think the only way is if you go this way. I
Right,
think
right, well-
as new projects come online, they're entering in CFDs and making arrangements to their project approvals. But that certainly doesn't cover projects that have been approved in the past who are operational today, or even ones that are under construction. So I think what this council has been looking at, as well as your staff, is how to bring that all together and how to craft some sort of a plan where everybody pays. And as you remember from where I was last year here, I advocated that every business that has a truck that comes through their door should be part of this equation, that we're all in this together. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So that's where I've always come from, is that everybody who has truck trips should be participating in our program.
Right. And I think that would be a good idea. But the problem is when we did try to do that, right? I think we lowered it at 45,000, and the issue is that flyers were getting sent to all the residents saying this hurts small businesses, and it was never intended to hurt the local mom and pop shop. So my concern is just that we're gonna go a whole nother year. And if there's a way that you could kind of talk to the people that really care about paying their fair share, and maybe kind of coming together and supplementing what's very expensive for our city and our taxpayers to do, I think we could talk to our engineering and financing and kind of find a way to do that.
I'm not
It's
sure.
possible.
I'm not sure how you negotiate from here to there on something like that. I think, we as an industry are committed to working with staff and your other colleagues to come up with a solution. That's what was presented this evening.
Right.
And I think it was laid out succinctly why we came up with that solution and how we settled on that and what was the thinking behind it. And if we had certainly longer than 3 minutes, we probably could
Oh, yeah.
articulate that better.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure we could talk later, though.
Okay.
And the question I have, Mr. Our city engineer, I know we look at all these studies, right? And they're kind of more regional studies. Have we ever looked at a study specifically for the city of Paris?
Not as a guideline.
Okay.
We do have a Riverside County traffic impact analysis guideline that we use, again, for consistency throughout the region.
Right.
And so that traffic engineers or engineers can kind of analyze the impacts
Okay.
in our region.
Okay, but is there a, like Riverside, every city is going to be unique, right? Norco is different from Moreno Valley. Paris is going to be different even from Moreno Valley, right? But is there, have we ever looked into, how hard would it do a study? Would we have to, is that something to look into? That's specifically for the city of Paris.
So we do traffic studies per project. So there's always studies being done, but it's cumulative in a certain area. So it's by area, but not a citywide traffic study. We would have to look at cost, how much that traffic study would cost. But no, not a citywide traffic study just for Paris, just by projects as they come in and they're required to do their focused traffic studies.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about every single street in the city of Paris, right? I mean, there's no trucks really driving my neighborhood for the most part. But other people there are, right, as was brought up. But, I mean, it might be something to look into, this kind of, we customize it straight right to the city
Establish
of
a
Paris.
guideline for
Okay.
solely City of Paris.
Okay.
We can look into that. But just to let you know, so all these, even warehouses, in order for them to analyze the impacts, we do use the ITE. We reference ITE.
And the warehouses use, the developers, they use ITE as well.
Correct. They don't use ARCOG. or-
So that's the standard. ITE is the standard.
That's what we have selected.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can I just make one last comment?
Sure.
Looks like the consensus is to go to 2025, but I do think we should have a definite date to come back regarding this discussion. I know our next meeting is not till July, and then after that, we don't have another meeting until late August. Perhaps maybe we can add this to the Public Works Committee as a further discussion, since myself and Councilman Corona are already on that committee, and then we can maybe bring it back in our September meeting. I know we're down to one meeting in September, or the last meeting in August or October. I would say no later than October, so we can kind of keep the discussion going on these items so it doesn't get pushed into 2025. That would be my one request.
Oh, I saw Councilman Corona nodding his head. Anybody else?
That sounds good.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
All right, so, but I want to clarify something. You mentioned November 25. I didn't say November, but I want to clarify November 25. You
I
said
think the
November
cost would be lower for the November
25?
election than March, yes.
25, okay.
Yeah.
So this is nothing solid, so don't get excited. We're not going to start another round of conversation. I just want to kind of narrow down for your group. We're going to focus on November 25, then you guys can continue on.
Could we
I heard-
clarify, is there any difference in the cost for either the March or November? As far as I understood, they should potentially cost the same for either election.
I
That's-
think Matt said
For
November
2025,
hadn't
the
come out
cost is
yet.
the
They
same.
were still working on November, correct? The cost for November 2025.
Yes, they're going to do a fee study. The registrar is going to do a fee study for 2025, so the cost will change.
But usually the general election is cheaper than the primary election.
Okay, thank you.
And Judy's nodding her
And,
head.
and again, this is not final, it's just a working date. Okay, you're gonna have to come up to the microphone. Sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The email that I received just this evening from the Registrar's Office indicated that the cost for the November 2024 election would be approximately $37,000. For either March or the November 2025 election, the cost would be $130,000, but they will be undergoing a fee study. So the cost will be higher,
Higher than the 130,000?
higher than the 130.
Okay, thank you.
So duly noted for your group, your working
And
group.
that is based on $3.50 per voter at this time.
Oh, so that's how it's done. Gotcha. All right, so for right now, again, this is just the conversation. The consensus was a special tax. I had more of that than, I only had 2 general tax recommendations. The length was pretty obvious, was 12 months, 12 years. The ongoing conversation needs to be regarding the CPI and adjustments and the actual final, how much are we going to agree to, what percent or what cent? And then if you guys can also work on, we only got 2 in the style of what numbers we want to go on, so you guys can work on the recommendation for which plan we want to go with. And of course, everything's subject to change when it gets back to the dais, when all is said and done. This is nothing concrete. And staff, you're going to now involve CCEAJ, is that the? CCAEJ, AEJ. Involved in the conversations. You're going to go back to NAOP, you're going to go back to our Paris Neighbors in Action, and I think the other group as well. And just keep on going, moving forward, working this out. Okay? Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're good there now. Item 13 is council communications. We'll begin with Councilman Corona.
I'm not sure if I have much, but I definitely want to wish everybody, well, for those fathers, happy Father's Day. I think you all, I think to Mayor and to our staff here. I'm trying to look around, skipping over people, but, Kenneth and Arsenio. Yeah, all the dads and city pairs, including my own father. I think for the sake of time, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Nava?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to also wish all fathers a happy Father's Day. And then also, we are in the month of June, so a happy Pride. I know we've been hearing our residents speak regarding LGBTQIA here in our community, and I just wanted to make sure that here for the record that I mentioned that while there's been great progress made, that there's still much work to be done, and I wish everyone a Pride Month filled with happy, joy, and plenty of love. And then also we have 4th of July coming up, and we have a fantastic fireworks show here in the city of Paris. So I invite you all to save the date, July 3rd. It will be a great event. So also, on another news, I would be remiss if I didn't share that our neighboring country, Mexico, now has its first female president. And that to me is very inspirational. And thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Corona. Claudia Sheinbaum, which is historic, and I know as a woman elected in office, I hope that having a woman in the highest office serving will continue to inspire other women like myself. And then also on really unfortunate news, we've lost a really long-time employee here in the city of Paris, Joyce Lee. So I'd like to send my thoughts and prayers to her family and friends, and hoping we could close tonight's meeting in memory of Joyce Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Rab?
Yes, want to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day. I want to wish everyone a happy Juneteenth, which will be celebrated next Wednesday. The Paris Black History Committee will be hosting an event on the City Hall campus this upcoming Saturday in honor of Juneteenth. Also want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July coming up on July 4th. And just want to also send my condolences to the family of Joyce Lee. And just want to thank everyone for coming out and providing public comments today. And I hope everyone has a restful sabbatical. We won't have another council meeting till late July if one is needed. So everyone rest up, turn off your devices, get back to nature, enjoy the summer. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I also want to wish all the fathers a great Father's Day. May your children do something special for you to put that smile on your face and really appreciate all the little ones in your lives. And the moments that you have with your children and your spouses. May you all have a wonderful dinner. May you be treated like kings, and may you enjoy your day. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be brief as well and save most of my, well, all my comments to our next meeting. That's not so long. But in reference to the Pride Month, I would like to give some remarks. Pride Month celebrates the diversity and resilience of our community. It honors historic struggles and triumphs advocating for equity and justice. This month reminds us to support and embrace everyone's right to live authentically, fostering love, acceptance, and more inclusive society. Therefore, my office is issuing a proclamation. I did not get an inquiry. I do a lot of proclamations all year long from many organizations. I have not yet received one from anyone regarding Pride Month, but my office has prepared a proclamation, and I did want to present it to Ms. Williams if she would like it. So I'll have staff reach out to her during the week, and I'll be more than happy to provide her one. And if she knows of any agency that would like to obtain a proclamation as well, we'd be more than happy to issue them with one as well. So moving on to our city manager report, item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. As Councilwoman Nava mentioned, there will be our fireworks show on July 3rd here at our Morgan Park at 6 p.m. One additional item for that evening will be our first drone show. Oh, Riverside County's doing one? Oh, Riverside County, not just city. Oh, I thought it was official. It was put on my. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
First one in the county?
Okay.
First in the
First
county.
one in the county, so
Paris
please.
is on the map again.
Yes, first drone show in Riverside County, so that'll be spectacular. And lastly but not least, I'm very happy to introduce our new building official and fire marshal. That is Jorge Caballero. He comes with over 30 years of experience in the building, construction, and engineering sector, working for public sector and private development as well. Most recently, he comes from the county of Riverside, as he served as the deputy building official. He holds various accreditations, including he's a licensed civil engineer, certified fire marshal, and certified building official. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Jorge Caballero.
So coming from the county, Jorge, I guess I can't apologize for the time because this is pretty quick for you coming from the county. So I know they had some long meetings there. So please share a few words.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Let me start saying that I'm very glad to be part of the City of Paris team. In the last 2 weeks working here, I find myself among a group of very enthusiastic people. They put a lot of energy to resolve issues and provide customer service. I'm gonna do all I can to help all the group to keep doing the good work they're doing. As Clara mentioned, so I have 30 years working in the construction field, 20 of those years working as a public server, the last 10 years working in a management positions, either in building and safety or development services department. So I have a bachelor degree in architecture, but sometimes in my career I decide to go and become a civil engineer. So I have multiple certifications in building and fire codes, and my interest right now is use my experience to provide the best service possible to residents of the city and keep them safe enforcing the building codes. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. That concludes my report.
All right, your team is getting more solid by the day. Okay, that takes us to our adjournment. Unfortunately, a couple of sad things. We're going to be adjourning in memory of our City of Paris employee, senior accounting specialist, Ms. Joyce Lee, who passed away on May 27, 2024. And in memory of Armin Zanegian, he's the dear friend and owner of the Derby Room, who passed away on June 9th, 2024. So our condolences to both their families, and We are now adjourned at 9:17 PM. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.